If you're a woman who has been diagnosed or suspects that you have PCOS, this is going to be the very best episode for you to listen to because you're going to get a full, deep picture of what's actually going on. We're going to break the myths about what PCOS is and help you understand on a deep subconscious level of what's happening in your body so you can finally start to heal. Welcome to the She Say Grow podcast. We help women recover their bodies from chronic burnout. I'm your host, Lindsay Christian, a holistic menstrual cycle coach and burnout recovery guide. So I wanted to create this episode so we can all just take a deep breath, release, and understand what our body is trying to tell us. PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. Symptoms of PCOS can show up as high testosterone and androgens in the body, reflecting facial and body hair, belly fat, acne, and even getting a deeper voice. While today we see 1 in 10 women experiencing it, it is not a new condition. This has been going on for thousands and thousands of years, dating all the way back to ancient Egypt. So first, I want to clear something up, which is the truth about what PCOS is. Even the term itself, PCOS, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, is wrong. It's a mislabeling. And I get so upset when I hear that you have cysts in your ovaries, because that's not what it is. And you're probably thinking, well, what is it, right? Let me explain it. And I'm going to try to keep it as easy and simple to break down as much as I humanly can. In all women's ovaries, we have little baby eggs. Those little baby eggs are housed in what's called follicles. Those follicles are kind of like the little care center for the eggs, which help the eggs to grow and mature and be released, which we would call that ovulation, for fertilization. A part of those follicles have different layers, and in those layers, they can produce androgens. Androgens can show up as testosterone, DHEA, androstenedione, which is giving you the symptoms of the acne, the chin hair, the deeper voice, possibly even infertility. Androgens are really that first step before it starts to become estrogen. The estrogen is going to help continue to grow those eggs so that they can then be released from the ovaries. However, for various different reasons, especially stress, when our insulin is too high, this can cause for our adrenal glands and our ovaries to produce too much of those androgens. And when we have too much, the body has a hard time converting all of that over to estrogen, which would then help those eggs to get bigger so that they can be released. So when you go to the doctor and they do this ultrasound, they can see all of these eggs that haven't been released. But instead of telling you that, they tell you, oh, you have a bunch of cysts in your ovaries, and we can give you birth control and see how that helps. How is that helping? That's not helping. So that's what it really is. Now, can you have cysts on top of your ovaries? Absolutely. But the cysts that you're seeing on the ultrasound are not those types of cysts. The reason why I get so upset is because if you're like me, it's common to associate cysts like disease, or like when you have cystic acne or you have a pimple or something like that. And in your mind, you can believe or feel as though your ovaries are now diseased. How does that make you feel as a woman? To hear that, it feels devastating. It feels scary. It feels like something that is so sacred and so vulnerable, there's something wrong. In a way, you can almost feel gross or even disgusting, right? And so I get angry when I hear someone saying, oh, you have cysts in your ovaries, because I know that's not what that is. And I know what that's doing to our belief system about how we feel about our bodies. So my job today is to be able to give you that new perspective to help you understand what's really going on. So if you have been believing that, take a deep breath right now and release that. Okay. And if any of that sounded like, I don't know what the heck she's talking about, these are all these terms, this is a lot of information, click the link down below, which is going to take you to the #1 community to help women recover from burnout and balance their hormones. I know for a fact there is no other community that is supporting you the way I am in this space, that you are fully supported with food, movement, pampering rituals, and education, along with a beautiful community, and teach you how to live your life in ease to bring down that stress and cortisol. Let's also talk about one other thing, and that's going to be adrenal dysplasia. That just means that your adrenal glands are overworked or they're overgrown, and your adrenal glands literally respond to stress. In our bodies, our adrenal glands, our ovaries, and our brain all communicate together to let the body know, hey, we are not safe right now. Let's not be out here trying to create new life because we can't really take care of it, because we need to be able to take care of ourselves. That's really what the body needs to know. So now that we understand a little bit more about the physical, scientific perspective about that, let's zoom out and let's talk like people. Because you are not just a walking being of just hormones and chemicals. You're a person, and there's a story that your body's reflecting in your symptoms. I'm a big fan of etymology, which is understanding the origin and the root meanings of words. The word testosterone carries meaning. From first testes, which comes from the Latin root word witness, and this is why testify and testosterone actually share the same root, both coming from testis, which means to witness or to affirm truth. And then when we get to testosterone, we have the sterile part. The root word is found in cholesterol, which comes from the Greek word stereos, which means solid or firm. And hormone comes from hormeo in Greek, which just means to set in motion or to excite. Just like hormones are communicators and messengers, they are to set their messages in motion. The body takes action from those messages. So it is not just a male hormone. It is the energy that testifies, that witnesses our strength and our need for stability and our will to endure when life feels uncertain. So when I look at women that are dealing with PCOS, I don't see a woman that just has a bunch of facial hair and she's very masculine. I see a woman that has had to carry her own strength, to find stability within herself because the world around her did not give her that safe space. That's what I see. So I want to know what your story is. I want to know what you've been through if you're experiencing a lot of testosterone in your body. I've dealt with this myself, and sometimes I still have to work with myself. And that's why I'm so passionate to be able to help women finally get that perspective. So now that we talked more about the scientific meaning behind PCOS, what that testosterone is really explaining, let's talk about the history of PCOS. And I want you to just imagine a woman thousands of years ago. I'm talking back ancient Egypt times, or even ancient Greece. And she's living in a world of survival. Her body is exposed to heat and cold. She doesn't know when she's going to get her next meal. Her social status is being defined by her fertility and her strength. And through this, certain traits start showing up again and again. Irregular bleeding or no bleeding at all, infertility, excess body or facial hair. Medical historians recognize that PCOS has carried the hallmarks of high androgens and insulin resistance and altered ovulation is very ancient. And the reason why it has persisted is because the very traits that cause us so much stress in our modern world actually provided survival advantages to women back then. So for instance, women with Higher levels of testosterone and fewer menstrual cycles may have had an advantage in times of scarcity, having less pregnancies because they couldn't be able to take care of that child, more metabolic resistance to be able to survive in the cold or be able to have their body have enough nutrients when food ran out, putting on the weight gain, or more strength in hard physical labor. So now we're going to fast forward a little bit and we're going to move to another image. And now we meet Clémentine Delay, famed as the bearded lady of France. Case researchers believed likely stemmed from having PCOS. Her beard began when she was 18, and she carried muscularity, obesity, a deep voice, and signs of having a lot of testosterone, including the beard. And she never had any children. So this term, bearded lady, at the time may have sounded sensational. It points to a deeper truth. The facial hair, the excess testosterone in women, these were once sideshows and freak show curiosities. And raise your hand, put a little hand up emoji in the comments if that little thought ever popped in your mind. I don't want to be some bearded lady or some freak. Those curiosities are not curiosities to the body that is trying to protect itself. Historically, those traits may have been remarkable because they pointed to a different kind of survival strategy. So when we look back, we see women through the ages carrying that pattern of infertility and excess hair and altered cycles. They were labeled as being wild and super strong or considered to be other or unfemale. Yet within that otherness genre, there was survival. So maybe the beard, the strength, the irregular bleeding pattern was really the body saying, I cannot rely on the usual feminine path of having regular ovulation and reproduction and having that softness. So I will find another way to survive. And so now we're here today, and that survival pattern still exists in our very ancient body. Only now it's layered with burnout and overstimulation and holding our emotions in and dealing with constant stress. And so your body still says, I need to protect you. I need to armor you. So it ramps up that testosterone. And it feels like we're fighting with our bodies, but deep down, the truth is that your body is doing exactly what it knows how to do, which is to keep you safe. So let's talk about the emotions and the nervous system link associated with PCOS. Our hormones don't just respond to what we eat and what we do. They respond to how safe we feel. When you grow up in a space that feels unpredictable, maybe love was inconsistent or emotions were not welcomed, your nervous system learns very early that stability has to come from control. So you learn to manage everything, to stay one step ahead, to hold it all together, because if you don't, things might fall apart. And even if the chaos ends, your body does not just automatically forget that. It keeps running that old survival program, the one that says, I'm only safe when I'm in control. That's where the nervous system and PCOS begin to intertwine. So the more that we live in fight or flight, the more that your body raises cortisol and adrenal androgens like DHEA and testosterone, hormones designed to help us survive threats. So testosterone in this way can become a form of protection for you. It grounds you when you feel unstable. It gives you energy when you feel depleted. It keeps you alert when softness feels unsafe. So many women with PCOS carry this same imprint, being high-achieving, hyper-independent, always managing, and rarely resting. Not because we want control, but because control has meant safety to you. So then in adulthood, when things finally start to slow down, the body starts to express that old story again through symptoms. The acne, the cravings, the fatigue, irregular cycles. And food and sugar become those comfort anchors. As children, maybe love was inconsistent, or there's a lot of instability, a lot of moving around, a lot of shifts, especially if you grew up with a single mom. There was a lot of ups and downs with that. Not having that father there or that masculine dominant energy to help sustain you. When we feel that inconsistency, that sweetness filled the gap, didn't it? Not just the sugar itself, but the dopamine rush that made us feel okay for a moment. The body remembers that too. So now we're getting this deeper understanding that none of this is self-sabotage. It is self-preservation that just got stuck. It's an old survival code. And sometimes PCOS is your body's way of saying, I need stability, but I do not know how to feel safe with being soft just yet. So healing starts when the body can learn that you can be safe in calm settings, not just in control. And that is the heart of what we do on the Pleasure Wire, helping you regulate your nervous system so your hormones can finally relax. So now we're going to touch on another part, which is a big factor, one that impacted me, which is burnout. When your body has been living in survival mode for too long, burnout becomes the next chapter. Burnout is not just mental exhaustion. It is your body being depleted on a cellular level. Even though we can deal with these modern day things, maybe you can't stay in your job or your boss, or, financial stability is a problem, or maybe something to do with social status or even social media. There's all these things playing in the back of our minds that are stressing us out that we don't even realize it. Even our own body image as women, which is another big factor. We'll have to do another episode on that, but just how much beauty and body image impacts us as a woman. That's very stressful for us too. On top of relationships and the whole 9 yards. When you're dealing with a lot of stress, your body releases cortisol. And when cortisol is released, it raises your blood sugar, and then insulin is going to rise to try to bring it back down. And then that loop starts to run constantly. So the ovaries begin to respond by producing more of the testosterone as a stabilizing mechanism. So even if you're eating really well, or you're moving your body and you're quote unquote doing all the right things, your hormones might still feel kind of off, because the root imbalance is not just physical, it is deep within your nervous system. So burnout keeps the body braced for impact. And the womb, which is designed for flow and rhythm and rest, starts to mirror that tension. So cycles start to become irregular, ovulation pauses, the body starts to cling onto that weight, not to punish you, but to anchor you, because it doesn't feel safe to release just yet. So this is why so many women with PCOS find themselves in this exhausting loop of trying harder, pushing more, chasing the next supplement, and doing the next plan, yet still feeling more tired and more disconnected and more inflamed. You cannot heal PCOS through force and restriction. You heal it through safety. So when the nervous system feels supported, cortisol drops, your insulin stabilizes, and your hormones finally begin to trust the body again. I will teach you how to nourish your hormones with food, how to move your body to lower cortisol so that it supports your blood sugar and metabolism, but most importantly, learning how to feel safe with doing less. I know how that feels, to feel like you got to do a whole lot just to get a little bit, right? So if you're ready for that, click the link down below to join the Pleasure Wire. So that is everything that I wanted to share with you today. I know this was a lot of information, but I really hope that some woman that is dealing with PCOS finds this episode. And maybe if you feel that this was helpful for you, that it resonated with you, that you can share it with another woman who's also dealing with PCOS. I know how this can make you feel with your confidence of seeing yourself in the mirror and maybe not appearing as feminine as you want, or feeling that there's something wrong with you. But I promise, your body is just there to have your back, to deal with whatever is going on. And there is a way to get yourself back in balance. Up next, we're going to dive into another condition that is commonly misunderstood, which is going to be PMDD. Super scary for a lot of women and something that every woman needs to hear. So be sure to follow and subscribe so you get notified when that next episode is released. Thank yourself so much for showing up today, and thank you for tuning in to the She Sacral podcast.